The Nintendo Switch bridges the gap between home and portable gaming. You can play it at home on the TV and then just pull it out of the dock and take it with you. To work, to school, wherever you're going. And you can carry on playing the same game. I absolutely love the Switch for this, but a lot of people complain about how uncomfortable the Joy-Con are. They say that they're too small and the joysticks just don't have enough travel. Enter the Split Pad Pro by Hori. This is Hori's attempt at producing Joy-Con replacements. They address a lot of people's major concerns with the Joy-Con by including larger joysticks and being, well, just beefier in general. Now, even though these have been around for a while now, in some regions, America, they're pretty hard to come by. So what are they like? How do they perform? And are they worth tracking down? Hello fellow gamers, and I've been trying out the Hori Split Pad Pro. Any grown adult who's played a Switch in portable mode has probably faced this same issue, those tiny Joy-Con. For some, they can be pretty uncomfortable. They'd face difficulty being accurate with those little joysticks and overall struggle with their small form factor. Now, I can understand why they've been designed the way they are though. It makes it pretty seamless to just pull them out of the Switch and offer one to a friend for on-the-spot multiplayer gaming. Now, I won't lie, I don't mind the form factor too much, but sometimes on longer playing sessions I'd like to have something more comfortable when playing in handheld mode. This is where the Split Pad Pro comes in. It's a way of replicating the Pro controller in handheld mode. The Split Pad Pro, like regular Joy-Con, comes in two halves. The first thing you may have noticed about these when you take them out of the box is their immense size compared to the official Joy-Con. In fact, together they're nearly the same size as a Pro controller. When you slide them down the Switch's rails, the size difference becomes even more apparent. Each controller swells out past even the Switch's own dimensions, like the Joy-Con that have been stung by bees. There are also these bits that stick out the back of each half of the controller. Now at first it didn't make any sense why these were here, but after a while I found out they're actually pretty useful. When placing the Switch down on a table, they stop the shoulder buttons from being accidentally pressed. They also offer added support when placing the Switch in a dock, and yes, the Switch will still fit in a dock even with these monstrosities attached. So getting back to the controllers themselves, each half has a slightly elongated grip that fits in the palm of the hand actually pretty well. And those tiny joysticks of the Joy-Con, they are replaced with full-sized analog sticks. They're positioned just where your thumbs will naturally rest, and they've got more travel, allowing you to be a bit more accurate in games like first-person shooters. The front-facing buttons, they feel alright, if slightly on the spongy side, but they do the job. The additional buttons though, like the plus and minus, they are entirely rubber, which I'm not a fan of. I mean, they're out of the way enough that you're not going to press them accidentally, so why make them harder to press, even intentionally? The shoulder buttons are a bit of a mixed bag as well. The ZL and ZR buttons, I mean, they feel fine. They're positioned well and they're easy to press. The L and R buttons, however, they're really spongy and they've got way too much travel than what's called for. On the rear of both halves of the controller, there's a little trigger which can be mapped to replicate another button. Now that sounds like it would be really useful, and you know, in some cases it is, but it is rather limited. Since each half is independent, you can't map a trigger on one side to a button on the other side. That's not so much of an issue for the right half, but for the left half, it doesn't leave as many options for mapping the trigger. But hey, at least it's got a proper D-pad. That's a win right there. Now when you're holding them in the hand, you'll notice that they are seriously light. They don't weigh much more than a regular Joy-Con. Now this is a good thing, as you wouldn't want a lot of extra weight to go with that added bulk when playing in handheld mode. In fact, it feels like there's nothing in them. And, well, sadly, that's not too far from the truth. They're not wireless, so you could only use them attached to the Switch itself. They've got no rumble functionality, there's no NFC for Amiibo, and there are no gyroscopes for motion control. So, good luck aiming in games like Breath of the Wild or Splatoon 2. They are moulded pieces of plastic with joysticks and buttons, and that's about it. Now, would I prefer if they had all of these? Well, of course. But I suppose all of that would add to the weight of these controllers and make them less comfortable to use in handheld mode, which is really the only way that these can be used anyway. Those are also going to bump up the price of these as well, and they're already touching 50 quid as they are. There was one feature that Hori added to the Split Pad Pro though. Turbo! The turbo function is available on both sides and can be enabled by holding one of the turbo buttons whilst pressing another button that you want to set as a turbo button. In fact, it works similarly to the other Hori controller that I have. There's even the option to control the speed of this turbo feature by holding down the turbo button and moving the analog stick up and down to alter the speed. And this can be done for both sides. So, with a number of downsides and only a few upsides, what are these for? And I can't deny that overall these are far more comfortable to use than Joy-Con in handheld mode, but is it worth sacrificing so much purely for comfort? Maybe. It depends. I can think of two scenarios where the Split Pad Pro would be really nice to use. The first is for grown adults who prefer to play their Switch in handheld mode at home rather than on the TV. In fact, you might even play your Switch whilst binging a few episodes on Netflix, which I admit I've done plenty of times myself. The added comfort the Split Pad Pro brings is really nice for a lot of games, from first-person shooters thanks to those bigger grips and analog sticks, to even simple puzzle games thanks to that D-pad. The second is when you're taking your Switch to, say, a meet, or even possibly taking part in some sort of competitive play where docking your Switch isn't an option. Since the Split Pad Pro doesn't have rumble, you're not going to be distracted by it. No gyro means you're not going to have to worry about calibrating it every now and then. Having no NFC probably won't be an issue for most, as not everyone uses Amiibo anyway. And since they're not wireless, you don't need to worry about charging them before you leave the house either. You are going to need to be prepared to pack them separately though, because there's no Switch case on the planet that will hold this system with the Split Pad Pro attached. Now, if you fall under either one of these categories, although admittedly less of the latter given the current circumstances, then the Split Pad Pro could be a viable choice for you. Though I will say, not at 50 quid. They're really easy to get hold of in the UK, but I would recommend waiting until they're a little cheaper. I've noticed the prices of these fluctuate quite wildly. I managed to pick up mine for about £35, which I feel is a better price for them, given how much functionality is left out. Anything more than that, I would say give them a miss. Well, you've heard what I think of the Split Pad Pro. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's a bit too big, too unnecessary, too expensive? Especially considering there's a number of features that are missing from them. Or do you want to go for the comfort route? Are you wanting to get this because it will be more comfortable for you in handheld mode? Let me know, and everyone else, down below in the comments. And as always, please leave a like or dislike depending how you felt of the video. And, there's always that subscribe button if you want to see more. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.